My name is Kaylin. I'm 32 years old, and for 7 years, I thought I had it all figured out. I built a tech consulting company from scratch, started in my garage with one laptop and a dream. By the time I was 30, we had 40 employees and contracts worth millions. But none of that mattered as much as her. Celine, my wife, my partner, the woman I met at a coffee shop when I was 23 and broke. She believed in me when no one else did. She stayed up with me during those endless nights when I had no clients and too much doubt. She held my hand when I wanted to quit. So when the company finally took off, I didn't hesitate. I added her name to everything. The bank accounts, the business documents. I even put her on the board as co-founder, even though she never touched the technical side. It felt right. She was my wife, my everything. We lived in a beautiful home overlooking the city. We took vacations to places I only dreamed about as a kid. We talked about kids, about growing old together. Every morning, she'd make me coffee. Black, no sugar, just the way I liked it. Every night, we'd sit on the balcony and watch the sunset. Life felt complete. But then, small things started to change. It started with her phone. Celine always left it lying around. Face up, unlocked, no secrets. But suddenly, it was always face down, always on silent, always in her purse. When I asked her about it, she laughed. "You're being paranoid, Kaylin." Maybe I was. I tried to ignore it. I threw myself into work. New contracts, new clients, bigger deals. But the distance grew. She stopped asking about my day, stopped waiting up for me, stopped making that coffee in the morning. One night, I came home early. The house was dark. Her car was in the driveway, but she wasn't in the living room, not in the kitchen. I heard voices upstairs. My heart stopped. I climbed the stairs slowly. Each step felt like walking through a water. The bedroom door was slightly open, and I heard her laugh. That laugh, the one she used to save for me. But she wasn't alone. I pushed the door open. She was sitting on the bed, fully dressed, FaceTiming someone. A man. I didn't recognize him, but the way she smiled at the screen made my stomach turn. She looked up, saw me. Her face went pale. "Kaylin, I can explain." "Who is that?" My voice didn't sound like mine. She ended the call quickly. Too quickly. "It's just a friend from work." "You don't have a job, Celine." Silence. "It's not what you think." But I knew. Deep down, I already knew. Over the next 2 weeks, I started paying attention. Really paying attention. She'd leave the house for hours, claiming she was meeting girlfriends. But her friends started posting pictures online. Without her, she'd get text notifications late at night. And she'd smile at her phone in the dark, thinking I was asleep. I hired a private investigator. I hated myself for it, but I needed to know. The report came back 3 days later. His name was Dominic, a real estate agent. They'd been seeing each other for 8 months. 8 months? Hotel rooms, dinner dates, weekend trips when she told me she was visiting her sister. I sat in my office, staring at the photos. Her hand in his, her head on his shoulder. Her smile. That same damn smile. I felt everything and nothing at the same time. But the worst part? That wasn't even the end. 2 days later, Celine came into my office at home. She closed the door behind her. She looked calm. Too calm. "Kaylin, we need to talk." I looked up from my laptop. "I think we should separate." The words hit like a punch. "What?" "I'm not happy anymore. I haven't been for a while." I wanted to scream, to throw the evidence in her face. But I stayed quiet. "I think it's best if we divide things fairly," she continued. "I've already spoken to a lawyer. Since I'm listed as co-founder, I'm entitled to half the company." And there it was. Not guilt, not remorse, greed. She wasn't leaving me because she fell out of love. She was leaving me because she thought she could take half of everything I built and run off with him. I stared at her. This woman I trusted. This woman I gave everything to. "You've thought this through," I said quietly. "I have." She even smiled a little, like she'd already won. But they made one mistake. They thought I was broken. I didn't react the way she expected. I didn't beg, didn't cry, didn't even raise my voice. I just nodded. "Okay, let's do this the right way. I'll have my lawyer contact yours." She looked surprised, maybe even a little disappointed that I didn't fight. She left the room, and I got to work. See, Celine never understood the business. She knew I had a company. She knew we made money. But she never asked how. She never looked at the contracts, never attended board meetings, never read a single financial report. She just enjoyed the benefits, and that was her first mistake. I called my lawyer that same night, a man named Richard, sharp, ruthless, and loyal. Richard, I need you to pull every document we have on file, every contract, every agreement, every signature. What are we looking for? A way out. Over the next 2 weeks, I played the part perfectly. I acted defeated, said cooperative. I agreed to mediation. I signed initial paperwork. I even let her lawyer think they were winning. But behind the scenes, Richard and I were building something bigger. We found it buried in the original LLC agreement, a clause I'd written in year 2 when the company was just starting to grow. It stated that any co-founder who attempted to claim ownership without actively contributing to operations for a continuous 12-month period would forfeit their claim. Celine hadn't touched the business in over 2 years. She never attended meetings, never signed contracts, never even answered a work email. She was a co-founder in name only, and that clause? It was legally binding. Richard smiled when he saw it. This changes everything. But I wasn't done yet. I hired a forensic accountant. I wanted to know exactly where our money had gone. What I found made my blood boil. Over the past year, Celine had been funneling money from our joint account into a separate account I didn't know about. Small amounts, $2,000 here, $5,000 there, always just under the threshold that would trigger alerts. She'd taken over $80,000 and I had every transaction recorded. But here's the twist. When I dug deeper, I found something else. Dominic, her boyfriend, wasn't just a real estate agent. He was broke, failed investments, debt, a foreclosed property, and suddenly it all made sense. She wasn't leaving me because she loved him. She was leaving me because he needed money, and she thought I'd be the fool who'd hand it over. I sat back in my chair and laughed, a dark, bitter laugh. They really thought they had me. The mediation date arrived. Celine walked in looking confident. Designer dress, fresh manicure, that smug little smile. Dominic waited outside in his car. I saw him through the window. Her lawyer laid out their demands. Mrs. Kalin is entitled to 50% of the business assets, 50% of the shared properties, and appropriate alimony support. I let him finish, then I slid a folder across the table. Actually, she's entitled to nothing. Celine's face went white. Her lawyer opened the folder. Inside the LLC clause, the forensic account report, and photos from the private investigator. Your client has been in an extramarital affair for 8 months, Richard said calmly. She's also embezzled over $80,000 from joint accounts, and per the original operating agreement, she has no legal claim to the business. Silence. Celine looked at me. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Kalin, please. You're done, Celine. Her lawyer scrambled, tried to negotiate, tried to threaten, but Richard shut it down. If you push this further, we'll file criminal charges for embezzlement. We'll also pursue full restitution and damages. Your client walks away with nothing, or she walks away in handcuffs. Your choice. The meeting ended in 20 minutes. She signed away her claim to the company. She agreed to return the $80,000. She got nothing from the divorce except her personal belongings. As she left, she tried to say something, but I turned away. I was done. But what came next changed me forever. The first few weeks after the divorce were strange. The house felt empty, too big, too quiet. I thought I'd feel victorious, powerful, like I'd won some great battle, but mostly I just felt tired. I'd destroyed her, legally, financially, emotionally. And yeah, she deserved it. I knew that. But it didn't feel the way I thought it would. I threw myself back into work. New projects, new clients. The company grew even faster without the distraction. But at night, I'd sit on that same balcony where we used to watch sunsets. And I'd wonder where it all went wrong. Was it my fault? Did I work too much? Did I stop seeing her? Or was she always like this and I just didn't want to see it? I didn't have answers. But I did have something else. Freedom. For the first time in years, I didn't have to wonder if someone was lying to me. I didn't have to check phones or hire investigators. I could just breathe. About 6 weeks after the divorce was finalized, something unexpected happened. I got a message from Celine. My first instinct was to delete it, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. Kaylin, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, and I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I ruined everything. I was selfish. I was scared of losing the lifestyle, and I made terrible choices. Dominic left me the moment the money dried up. I have nothing now, and I deserve that. But I want you to know, you didn't deserve any of it. You were good to me, better than I ever deserved. I hope one day you find someone who sees that. I read it 3 times. Part of me wanted to feel satisfied, to laugh, to send back something cruel, but I didn't. I just closed the message. And I realized something. Her apology didn't change anything. It didn't undo the betrayal. It didn't heal the wounds. But it also didn't matter anymore because I wasn't waiting for her to fix me. I was already fixing myself. I started seeing a therapist. I know, it sounds cliche, but it helped. I talked about the betrayal, the anger, the guilt I felt for being so ruthless. And slowly, I started to let it go. I learned that revenge isn't about destruction. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about refusing to be a victim. I also learned that love isn't about blind trust. It's about choosing someone who chooses you back. Every single day. Celine didn't choose me. She chose comfort. She chose greed. And when that didn't work out, she tried to play the victim. But I wasn't going to let her rewrite history. I kept the message, though, not to torture myself, but as a reminder. A reminder that people will show you who they really are if you pay attention. A reminder that protecting yourself isn't cruel, it's necessary. A reminder that I survived. A few months later, I ran into someone from her past, a mutual friend. She told me Celine had moved back in with her parents. She was working retail, struggling. Dominic had moved on to someone else, someone with money. And for a moment, I felt nothing. Not pity, not satisfaction. Just nothing, because she wasn't part of my story anymore. I'd closed that chapter, and that's when I realized this story wasn't about them anymore. It's been a year now. The company is doing better than ever. We just landed a contract with a Fortune 500 client. I bought a new house. Smaller, but it feels like mine. I even started dating again, slowly, carefully. I'm not rushing into anything. Because I learned something important. You can't build a life with someone who's only there for the blueprints. You need someone who's willing to get their hands dirty, someone who stays when things get hard. Celine taught me that, not through her love, but through her betrayal. And honestly, I'm grateful. Not for the pain, not for the lies, but for the clarity. I see people differently now. I trust differently. I love differently. I don't give pieces of myself away just because someone asks for them. I make people earn it. And if they can't, I walk away. No guilt, no hesitation. Because I know what I'm worth now. I know what I built, what I survived, what I became. The other day, I was sitting in my office going through some old files. I found a photo. Me and Celine. Year 3 of our marriage, we were at the beach. Smiling, happy. Or at least I thought we were. I stared at it for a long time. And then I put it in the shredder. Not out of anger, but out of acceptance. That version of me is gone. The man who trusted blindly. The man who gave everything without question. He's dead. And in his place is someone stronger. Someone wiser. Someone who knows that betrayal doesn't break you unless you let it. I leaned back in my chair and looked out the window. The city stretched out before me, full of life, full of possibility, and I smiled. Not because I won some battle, but because I finally understood. Betrayal broke me, but it also rebuilt me, and the man I am now, he's someone I'm proud to be. If you've ever trusted someone who hurt you, I hope this story reminds you of something important. You are not defined by how someone treated you. You're defined by how you rise after they're gone. Celine thought she could take half my company, half my life, half my future. But she forgot one thing. Everything I built with my own hands. And no one, no matter how close they get, can take that away. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? How did you move forward? Drop a comment below. Let's talk. And if this story hit you the way it hit me when I lived it, consider hitting that like button and subscribing. Because I've got more stories to tell. Real stories. Hard stories. Stories about people who fell and got back up. If you want to hear more real stories like this, stay with me. Because we're just getting started.